is created so that a person is probably showcasing himself for being the person to take on the next level job.
Okay, okay, fine, fine, fair enough. Good. Yeah,
Sir,
anybody else wants to share?
It's
yes,
about
sir. Yeah,
yeah.
go on. Go on.
First. I'll do it later. Please.
No problem, Vicky ji. आप कहना है तो बता
Right,
बता
sir.
दीजिए.
After you, don't worry, please. Yes, start.
Okay, let's start with Ricky ji. You can go ahead, and then Mr. Venkatraman will do it. Yeah.
It's about learning by doing. When you talk about the organization to develop, so doing things and making learning and looking at the gaps, filling those gaps by doing it. So this is about in a layman term, we'll call the development.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So I'm not making any comments on that at the moment. We'll just listen to you. Yeah. Venkatraman ji.
Hey, just I have two views here. One is that development center. Uh, Mostly it is, according to me, it is for a kinesthetic kind of a learners who will do and learn for a basic skill set. This is one kind of thought process have come in me. Second is a learning center in which it should be encompasses all the facilities to enable the trainer to cater all the participant needs according to me. Maybe audiometric learners or visual learners or kinesthetic learners or read and write learners. It should enable all the learners to understand. It should enable the trainer to create a content or deliver a content to provide insight to all the participants. That's one thing. Recently, I am developing a learning center for our jewelry division, in which I have done something. I am eager to know something more to be added on top of it.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Thank you. Shivani.
Yes. Okay, sir, in addition to what Sir and Venkat sir has also said, I think so, sir, development center is also a crucial part of talent management when we do at the organization on the strategic level, where we are not only looking forward to develop the competencies of fresh hires, but also the people who are already working inside the organization for the future role or any kind of succession planning we are doing. So it is mostly on a organizational level, and then we mark down the competencies, and then we try to understand the potential, mark down the people for the future roles. In my limited understanding, this is what it is. So the subject was very new to me, and I'm very excited to learn from you. But what I have learned so far about this, and why I'm very excited for this subject, and what idea I have, because sir, I am into employability skills these days, and like I said, I'm working for development sector as an NGO sector as well. So I'm looking forward to at least develop a few development centers in rural area of India. So that is why this subject is very important for me to learn as well. But yeah, this is in my limited understanding what I understand about the subject itself.
Brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Colin.
Yes, sir. So my understanding on this development center is it's similar to what others were sharing, like hands-on experience, a simulation where we do it so that the skill will be upgraded for either a new joinee or the existing person who's working in the floor. The main purpose, what I understand, is like making a person ready for the business need, if it is a floor experience or anything. So we have to, so for the day one, if they're coming, they should be able to match the rhythm of the seniors and the existing people who are there in the floor. That is one. And of course, when they come from the academic to the industry, we should help them like what is the need or the requirement in the industrial part. So this development center will help them in all these things, is what I understand.
Okay. 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 Great. 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 All right. I think we have got some perspectives. Uh, uh, there's a whole lot of variation in what each one of us have in terms of understanding what a development center is. And I think hopefully at the end of this particular course, we will all have clarity as to what it is and how to use it in your respective organizations, or if you want to start some business of your own, how do you leverage it for becoming an entrepreneur yourself? Is there's a possibility? Okay, so that I think. But before that, before we start on the development center, so today we will have a little bit of detour here and there. Don't worry about it. We will complete the course on time. You don't have to really strictly go by what is given, session 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I'll take care that it is all done. Okay. I think you'll have to understand the basic landscape of what's happening in the industry and across the world uh, in the field of L&D, and a much broader view is in the field of HR itself. Right. I think today people are all talking HR is dead, HR is gone, HR is not required anymore, shut down HR, this, that, and all. There is a sort of some kind of severe criticism on the function of HR itself. I don't know how far you feel this is true, or how far this is happening in the organizations, but there is a general feeling that HR is no longer required in the organizations. Now, HR has been traditionally L&D has been traditionally associated with HR. So, if people are talking about HR being dead, then we're also indirectly saying L&D is also dead, right, to some extent. Right? But my strong feeling as a person who has been in the teaching for the last 20 years, I think the neglect of HR by the industry is the cause for several of our problems. I think HR has to come to the center stage. HR is the future of organizations, because in organization, without human, there's nothing in the organization. You can't have a building, robots, machinery, plant, uh, all those things without the humans. It's just not possible. It is uh, I think it's a sort of a cynical thinking to think that organizations can run on their own without the humans. And so the human part of it has been neglected for a long time. And on the one hand, the industry keeps talking about de-skilling and reskilling and all that. On the other hand, they talk about the reduction in the HR budgets, reduction in the HR personnel as such, and all. So there's a sort of a contradiction in what the industry is talking about. I think when the going is good, they will all talk like that. As long as the companies are able to make profits, the marketing guys, the finance guys, and all will say that HR is not required. But when COVID came in 2019-20, I think it was HR who has really stood rock solid behind the CEOs in every organization and made sure that people have worked, they've delivered, they made their organization sustain during the most critical period in the last 100 years of history, right? So we are forgetting that, and unfortunately, HR fraternity does not uh, assert themselves in the organization. And one of the reasons why it happens is HR people are more uh, dissociated from the number game in the organizations. Ultimately, business is numbers, business is top line and bottom line. If you're not having command on the top line and bottom line, you are nowhere in the reckoning of the organization's strategic or the top level discussions. So, to that extent, HR is responsible for its own fate as of now. And most of you who are in the field of HR, I think you would definitely agree, HR has to actually move into the center stage and assert itself. And L&D, some of you said, it's strategic requirement and all. As of now, L&D is always in the, chopping block whenever there is a downturn in the profits of the organization. People, for the top man, yeah, I'll talk about why HRBP came and who are the defenders of HRBP. So, uh, I'm giving you a broader perspective. I mean, it's easy for me to straight away go and talk to you something about, the development center and close it. I think we'll have to understand the context in which we are commencing this subject. And as of now, in fact, some of the part of the content is also to be upgraded, because the world has been changing. It's been changing every minute now. Therefore, we have to also upgrade ourselves. Now, coming to the organizations, unfortunately, L&D is the first one to be chopped off if there is a financial difficulty for the organization. They think that can be easiest to cut off, but they don't they also realize L&D is the one which will actually make you to come back. If your performance, the organization performance is not good, it also means the organization's employees are not performing for whatever the reason. And if organization's employees perform, there is no reason why an organization should not do well. Right. So the performance of an organization is the sum total of the employees' performance. And employees' performance depends on how contemporary their knowledge and skills are, how focused are they on the organizational strategy, and how are they able to contribute to the organization as a total team. I think gone are the days when individually you can be excellent, but collectively, if you don't contribute to the goals of the organization, no matter how great a leader you are, you will not steer your company for a long time, right? And the models of performance in all the fields are changing, including the human resource management and L&D. L&D has to now move from a very, it's kind of a side function to a core function, because in a world which is so dynamic in terms of technology changes and the cultural changes in the organization, business structure change, models are changing so fast, and therefore the need for L&D is all the more now than it was in the entire history, right? So, so that is one perspective. Now, HRBP came in because, Dave Ulrich is the one, of course, is the global guru number one in the world now. He's the one who came up with this human resource, a business partner, HRBP. He has been, of course, he's been conducting the HR competency survey for the last 30 years. I think recently, the latest maybe about 10th or the 11th, and he keeps publishing these competencies required for human resource professional. Periodically, he conducts a global survey and then comes out with these models. He's the one who wanted to, who has been defending HR at a global level. And when there was an onslaught on HR saying that HR is dead, is the one who said now HR has to now start moving into the business partnership. You should be more strategic in your approach rather than just operational, processing salaries, leaves, and maternity leaves. That is not going to lead you anywhere. You should be contributed to the business value rather than being a just an operational executive there. So that is how the moment he has built in, and he's still pursuing that. Definitely is building on that. So why am I giving you all this? The reason why I'm giving you all this is you have chosen to be in the L&D space for whatever the professional reasons that you have. Some of you are pretty young, some of you are pretty seasoned and senior people. Some of you want to have the legitimacy for what you're doing. Maybe you've already been doing this, and if you are a diploma holder in ISTD, it has more authenticity than what you're doing without that, right? Some that may be the assumption. uh, I see that in the next 10 to 12 years or 10 to 15 years, the role and the responsibility of L&D will definitely grow. It is the best of L&D is yet to happen in the country, and the acceptance levels at the industry levels have to also go up. And all of you will be able to make decent money. I don't promise that you'll become the Bill Gates of the world, but certainly you will be having good. You'll be able to earn well and have good quality of life if you practice the L&D and whatever you are studying here. Uh, Particularly the way things are happening with the AI and other technology developments, I think the need for technology adoption, technology training will go up. So don't stick to the traditional ways of training. And as the technology increases the gap, today you have got, earlier we used to say technology haves and technology have nots. the latest fad in the world is AI haves and AI have nots, right? That is the latest fad. And whenever there is a gap, whether it is economic, educational, skills, whenever there's a gap in the society, that gap is an opportunity for some people to intervene, and in that intervention you can add value, and that value add is actually is your money or the rent received by you. I mean, in terms of what Schumpeter says, if you are able to fill the gap by your training programs, what you are gaining out of that is the rent you are receiving for the training that you are providing to the society or to the individuals. So to that extent, yes, here is a huge opportunity. Development center or assessment centers have still not caught up the imagination of Indian companies. We still go through the traditional means and methods of either recruiting or identifying people for promotions or training them and all. So these are more scientific, more advanced, more competency based, and therefore the opportunity for launching yourself into a more professional environment is a huge one. And with that, frame of mind, you're able to see it not just for the sake of getting a diploma certificate or just getting some writing some exam. I think it's more of applied course. It's not much of a theory. It is more of what you can do to your organization to add value to your departments, add value to yourself, so that you are able to gain mileage out of your expertise. Then it definitely benefits you. So I'll pause here. If you have any questions, any thoughts you can share. All of you are welcome. Anyone can share. If you disagree also, I have no absolutely no problem. Please share your disagreements or anything like that.
Sir, 100% I agree with your point of view. That is the best L&D process is yet to come, according to me. Any business, why I am also agreeing with it, it means any business, two things coming in my mind. One is, if a business is so successful that it is only because of their understanding level on its intent and uh, unanimous thinking of the subject by everyone in the organization. Also, it's like a mosquito is biting on a leg. Unknowingly, the hand is going and hitting on a mosquito. It is not a brain is giving a command to go and hit. It's like that. The management should work. Then they should have a sync that is only possible by a L&D. Second one is, I love this phrase by head L&D, head Ellen used to say this. Only once he said that learners are living long. ये क्या बात है? Just I pick up that phrase and thought about it. If I wanted to lead a stress-free life, then every situation is an opportunity. If I look at a situation, then I'll be learning something. If I am learning, there is no stress involved in it. I am not knowing it, I am learning it. That's it. That kind of a mindset will come tomorrow. That's what I also believe in it. That's why I am stating this two point of view of mine with you. Thank you for triggering this, sir.
Thank you. So we'll move on. That is my email ID. If any one of you want to anytime connect with me, that's my email ID. And of course, you must have got the Development Center book from the IST. All of you would have got it, right?
Maybe have
No,
it.
sir, I also received.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is module one. We will be covering all this per this syllabus. And this is for the today's presentation. Yeah, one is one of the greatest things that we had done in the past as a country. And one of the blunders that we have also done is to forget our past. And whatever the competency development center, assessment center that we're talking about, they're all the developments the last 30 years. It's not that, they have got some long legacy. And I'm as a management professional, management teacher, I believe that India had a great wisdom to offer to the world, but somewhere we have lost it. because of various reasons which we don't want to go in. But the origin of the competency mapping goes to much before what we're going to discuss in this course. This runs into several centuries before. So this is what was stated by Kautilya or Chanakya in his Ardhashastra. So the king those days, it's 1 BC or something like that. uh, the king shall thoroughly investigate all the qualities of anyone he is considering for appointment as a minister. I think those days, some hundreds of thousands of years ago, we had these qualities for a minister. But today we don't bother about the qualities for a minister, leave alone the prime minister. I don't want to criticize anyone personally, but that is the fact. Of these qualities, nationality, family background, and amiability to discipline shall be verified by from reliable sources. So, whatever the background checks we are now talking of, KPMG is doing it, or AMD is doing it, somebody is doing it, which are all Western based companies doing. I think we had done it long, long before, right? The candidate's knowledge of various arts shall be tested by experts in their respective fields. So, what we call as SMEs were there much before. Intelligence, perseverance, and dexterity shall be evaluated by examining his past performance, and eloquence, boldness, and presence of mind shall be ascertained by interviewing him personally. So the great PI, personal interview, was there much before. All right. Watching how he deals with others will show his integrity, endurance, ability to suffer adversities, integrity, loyalty, and friendliness. And from his intimate friends, the king shall find out about his strengths, amiability, and love, strengths, health, and character, whether lazy or energetic, fickle or steady. The candidate's amiability and love of mankind, absence of a tendency of hate, shall be ascertained by personal observation. So all this has been there. It's not, it's something which has been there as a part of our culture, evolution, and all that. Somewhere we have forgotten, and all these things have been left behind. And therefore, the Western theories, Western practices have somehow come in. So, what we are now discussing is in this course, what we discuss and what we try to understand is what has been there in the last 30, 40 years. The competency movement first started in 1973 by McClelland. So that is the basis from where it has all developed. So what is this is hard 73 means hardly 50 years. But then we had some thousands plus years of legacy in this area. So, what are the competencies? Actually, people have and acquire competencies. So we acquire competencies through various means, and when you apply these competencies, these things are manifested in our behaviors. Competencies are manifested in behavior. Behaviors can be changed. Behaviors can be trained, and that is why there is a lot of future for us as trainers, because a lot of organizations are looking for behavioral changes in the organizations. And why do you require to train for behaviors? Why do you require change in behaviors? Because the organizations want productivity. Organizations are seeking outputs. Organizations are seeking results. So therefore, when you produce in your respective teams, or you motivate individuals to produce results, outputs, that form a part of the organization's results. And organization results are what everybody is looking for. Yes, sir. Hitesh ji.
Uh, isn't output and results the same?
Okay, good question. So can anybody try and attempt that? Isn't output and result the same?
But can actions be placed in between results and behavior? That's what my question is.
Okay, good. Nice question. I think the first question, let us understand first. Output and results are the same.
According to me, it's the same. That's the reason.
In the context
Yeah.
of customer services could be if I've had a bad day at office, maybe I've had no, not a very positive interaction with my manager. So I may deal with my customers in a similar way. I will maybe ill treat them. I may not be very happy to serve them as if I'm doing a favor by serving them. So that is the output. because of how I have been feeling, because that is the behavior, right? Or maybe I have had a bad day at home as well. So that could be the output, how I'm serving my customers, and that will result in a bad repute for the company. Those customers may give negative reviews about the organization.
Okay. Yeah, anybody else?
Sir, a desired output could be the results.
Output is the result you're saying, ma'am.
Desired
Desired
output could be a result.
Desired outcome or output is the results, what she's saying.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. See, cumulative output of all the employees in the organization gives you the results. Outputs by itself will not be results for the organized. We are looking at the cumulative outputs of all contributing to the results. Right? If you say the profit for the organization should be X crores or whatever, now each one of the behaviors at individual level will produce the results at the unit level. Each unit level outputs will contribute to the overall results. At an individual level, yes, whatever you do is an output for you, but we are not looking at the individual level. We are looking at an organizational level. And at an organizational level, it is the sum total of the individual outputs. Now, if somebody doesn't produce in the entire chain of the organization's activities, the results will have an impact on that. Right? So I hope I have been able to clarify you that.
Got
Okay.
it, got it. But
Now-
this is from the context of an individual, output is from the context of an individual person, and
Individual
result
or
is
a
from
unit.
the unit. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it is a subunit of the organization. See, the organization is a sum total of the entire, subunit. Each subunit is comprising of individual performances. So, what organization is finally looking at is the results. Now, if you flip it and look upwards from results to the top. Now, you need to produce to get the desired results. You need to produce the desired outputs. To get the desired output, you should have the desired behaviors. To have the desired behaviors, it should be backed with the desired competencies. Now, if you are able to get the competencies at the beginning, then you are able to manage the whole chain there. Then you will definitely get the desired outputs for the organization, results for the organization. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So now let's first understand what is competency. What is competency? Basically, all of you have been working, so some of you can give what do you understand by competency?
Ability to perform a task.
Ability to perform a task. Okay, good. Short and sweet. Yeah. Anyone else want to try?
So competency is an umbrella which covers knowledge, skills, and attitudes, abilities.
Okay. Okay. So, competency, it's a very difficult term to define, and therefore you have got different definitions by different people. So I'll take you through some of them, not all of them. And whenever you get the PPT from me, you can definitely go through it. It's not that you'll have to write only those words. You can construct your own definition looking at all these things. So different people have defined it in different ways because of the context in which they have done the research or they have done the study. So you can see the third one here, an underlying characteristic of a person. It may be a motive, trait, skill, aspects of one's self-image or social role, or a body of knowledge which he or she uses. So they are characteristics that are causally related to effective and superior performance in a job. I mean, ultimately, I think what Mr. Hitesh said is right. It's basically what makes you to perform better than others. I mean, how do you in your own departments, your own subordinates, your own colleagues, you will see some people performing better than others. So what makes their performance better than the others is the differentiator is their competence. Right, competency is what makes the difference. Now, you have another couple of definitions we'll see, and then we'll move on. So, the underlying characteristic of a person that results in effective and superior performance by Kemp. Then competency, the characteristics of a manager that lead to the demonstration of skills and abilities, which result in effective performance within the occupational area. Competency embodies the capacity to transfer skills and abilities from one area to another. I think that is a very significant, component of this definition. What he is saying is, the competencies can be transferred from one area to the other area, right? How many of you are aware of this book called Seven Highly Effective Habits by Peter Sanjay, right? Okay, so yeah, great. So what is the essence of that? If you can, any one of you can share the essence of that book in a couple of minutes. I know it's off the cuff, but then whatever you can recollect, you can say, no problem.
When he says the seven
Yeah.
habits, I remember it's a circle of concern, circle of influence, and circle of control.
Okay.
Beginning with the end in mind.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Be
Be
proactive.
proactive.
Be proactive is one of the common.
Okay.
Begin with the end in mind.
Right.
Creating
Okay.
a win-win.
So basically,
Sharpen the saw.
yeah, sharpen the saw. Right. All this fine. Basically the principle there is competence. If you have these competencies, they are transferable from one area to the other area. So there are some years ago, somebody has questioned an IAS officer in India, for example, you can be an MD of a road transport corporation today, and tomorrow you can be an MD of a milk marketing federation. Day after, you can be MD of the Coal India and things like that. So somebody asked, how can an IAS officer be a managing director heading different kinds of organizations like that? So the answer is this. The book written by Peter Sanjay talks about those seven highly effective habits. So if you have those habits, and then you are, competencies are transferable. You can go to any department or any corporation and manage. So it is basically, if you are able to develop you're all talking about agility in the organizations today. The only reason why we are talking about agility is we want to also have some lean budgets for human resource management, leverage individuals from one department to the other department, one function to the other function. And therefore, the question there is, how do you make these individuals' abilities transferable so that they can be used in multiple ways? So the answer is there, identify the competencies which people can, shift from one area to the other area. So to that extent, I think competencies are very, very relevant for all of us to understand. So competencies are measurable human capabilities that are required for effective work performance demands. And then I think we'll take one more and leave it at that. Okay, this is what Seema Sanghi has written. I'm sure some of you must have seen her textbook. An underlying behavioral characteristic that can result in effective individual performance, focusing on personal characteristics not directly tied to work and achievement. So, some of these things we will be able to demonstrate as we move forward. And yeah, okay. Jackson and Schuller, competencies are defined as the skills, knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics that someone needs to perform a job effectively. I think this is very close to what Mr. Pradeep said. Right? It covers all. And Hoffman, based on the analysis of literature, summarized three key points in defining a competency: underlying qualification and attributes of a person, observable behaviors, and standard of individual performance outcomes. So all these things, it all related to three things, as he said rightly: qualifications and attributes of the person, and what are the standards related to individual performance, and how you are able to achieve the outcomes. And the gap between standards and the individual, performance is what the competency gap, and the competency gap filling process itself is development center. I mean, in the essence, in a simple term, the gap between what an individual performance is and what individual expected performance is. So, what causes that gap is the competency gap, and what fills the gap is the development center. Right? I think that is the essence of this entire course, and we will go layer by layer into this. In the first 5 sessions, you will not really touch upon what is development center. We will only go through the development center and the processes from the 6th session. Till then, we will create it is scaffolding the entire subject matter. And don't worry if you don't hear much about development center in the first session, 5 sessions. All right. Now we also know what is competence. What is competence and how to differentiate between competency and competence? So, are the same or are they different? And if they are different, how are they? And if they are same, why? How are they? Yeah, please go ahead.
Competence is combination of skill and will. According to
Okay.
me, competency is how they are demonstrating for meeting some particular requirement or for a particular job to be performed or similar kind of things.
Okay.
That's what I think. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Competency is a demonstration. Competence is possession of an individual of a person.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else wants to try anything? Then we will move on. Yeah, Puneet ji, you want to say something? We joined a little late, so it's all right, no problem. Okay. All right. So let's understand what is competence. It belongs to the role, whereas competency it belongs to the individual. I, as an individual, have certain competencies, but as an instructor, I have to have certain competence, right? Okay. So it belongs to the role. Without the attribute, without this attribute, you cannot be performing in that role, right? Now, if I'm, so let's say I'm an accounting person, if I'm an accounting assistant, I must have the competence to deal with the Excel, because in accounting you have a lot of Excel requirements, and without knowing Excel, I can't be a competent person in that role. Right. I may have a lot of other competencies, but this competence is very much required. So if I'm recruiting somebody or I'm promoting somebody in accounting for a certain role, and that role requires the competence of the Excel or spreadsheet, it must be specified. That belongs to that role. Whereas competency belongs to the person. So I may have a lot of other competencies, but if I'm not having the competence in Excel, I'm not suitable for that role. And the role holder without this attribute, one cannot be successful in that role. All right. So I think that makes it a little more easier and clear. Competencies are the characteristics of a manager that lead to the demonstration of skills and abilities. So if I'm a manager in, let us say, the facilities in the organization, I should have certain competence which will be substantially different from the competence required for a marketing manager or a finance manager, right? So this competence, if you possess, it results in effective performance within the occupational area. Competency embodies the capacity to transfer skills and abilities from one area to other, right? So the essentially what we are looking at is you have people with competencies and people competencies, and the job role requires certain competence. Whether you are able to map these two and you are able to decide whether these are matching, if there's a matching between the competency that an individual has and the competence required for the role, then he or she is expected to be successful. If there is a gap, then you cannot have the success in that role for that individual. Am I clear to you? Would you like to share some examples? or some instances that you've come across in your organizations? I'll give you a typical
Maybe this
organizational
L&D
files.
itself,
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
maybe L&D itself, I'll take one example. Training, the trainer can have a lot of competencies, means a lot of skill and experience by himself as a person. But when it comes to a trainer or being a faculty, he should be competent enough to share it to the audience.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can we take that as well?
No, I'll give you. I think please go ahead and we will share. I'll give you a typical example which most of you would have come across in your organizations, and we will continue to experience this. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Anybody else? A typical organizational paradox is if you are an extremely good salesperson, you have done super performance as a salesperson, a sales executive, and the organization wants to reward you. He is promoted to being a sales manager. It happens quite often in many organizations. And and then what happens? The competencies required for a sales executive are different from the competence required for a sales executive is different from the competence required for a sales manager. As a sales manager, you should be more into the planning, execution, team management, and interfacing with the coordination with the various organizational other departments and all. But as a sales executive, all that I need to do is I understand the product, I go into the market and sell it to the customers. So that competency which I have, may not be good enough for the competence required for a manager. And in many organizations, this is the typical mistake committed by the uh, line managers. I think they don't understand the difference between a competence requirement for a job role and the competencies that an individual has, and they want to obviously reward the person who has done good sales, and you make him to a manager, then you have the fun. The guy will not be able to manage the teams. He will not have the competence required to be a team lead, and therefore some people start leaving. There will be some issues within the department, and it happens quite often. It is like a good professor being made a vice chancellor. A vice chancellor requires different set of competence compared to a good teacher who is a successful professor. Similarly, a great doctor, a surgeon, or a physician, if you make him the CEO of a hospital, he may not be successful because, as a technical person, if you are doing very well in your organization, that doesn't mean that you have the managerial skills to run a hospital. That happens in IT industry. In IT industry, you are a great coding. You're doing a great coding job, and you are very successful. You're dealing with your customers on the offline or on site or off site, whatever. But if you are made in charge of the organizational head or a departmental head, you may not have the competence to deal with the issues that you're going to confront in that role, and therefore there is a serious performance issue. So these are all very common in our organizations, and this is nothing new. So what the course intends to tell us, or what we are trying to demonstrate here, is you need to make sure the competencies of individuals should match with the competence requirements of the job role. Historically, what we have been doing is we used to take the job description and the job specifications. So, job analysis was the typical way that organizations and the HR departments have managed the requirements of human beings for a long time. But that model is not really working now because the specifics that are required for performance in the organization by the individuals are fast changing, and therefore it is considered that matching the competencies of individual with the competence required in the job is a better way to recruit and better way to train, better way to promote people in the organization, and therefore the requirement for assessment centers and the development centers has come up. Have I made the point clear? Is it am I able to get across to you all?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yes.
Great. So I would give you some inputs about different terms that are likely to be used in this next few sessions. So let's understand these things. And if you have any questions on that, you please stop me at any time. So competency identification. So for us, what is important is we have to discover what are the competencies that are required for successful performance, right? And that's a big challenge because there is no standardization of these definitions. This vocabulary is not so fixed from one industry to one another industry, one country to other country, one context to other context. But it's important to identify the competency. What are the competencies required from the individual to fit to a competence requirement of a job? That standardization is not yet done, but the discovery process is still on. And for each one of us in our own organization, we have to do it, that discovery process for our company ourselves. Then competency role, a set of tasks and responsibilities related to one aspect of a job holder's job that the job holder is required to know and have the skills to perform. One or more competency role may be linked to a job title for the assessment process, right? If you are a training manager, there are some competences required for being a training manager, right? If you are, let's say, today, I think you're talking about wellness manager, sustainability manager. A lot of new things are coming up in the industry. We really don't understand in the industry what these people are and what competence they need to have, but they are being promoted because that is required for various other purposes. So when you want to create a new role in the organization, it's important first you need to do enough thinking and discover what are the competences that the job holder requires in that to be successful in that particular job role. Then we also come across the models. Today when you have a model, you have certain things to fall back on, and therefore in competency also you have some competency models. So these models will help us to decipher what is required and what is not required. It makes life a little more simple. So it's a narrative description of the competencies for a targeted job category, occupational group, division, department, or other unit of analysis. Each competency consists of 6 elements. As you can see this, I think these elements are important: the title of that particular role, cluster, definition, sub-competency, key elements, behavioral indicators, and proficiency standards. I think the proficiency standard is what actually is missing in the job analysis, that is job description and job specifications. We do not specify the proficiency standard, the level required. I think this is a new element that has come into the competency based hiring or competency based management of the talent, right? Then job competencies, I think we have already discussed that, so I leave it there. But competency mapping is important. It is a process of to identify key competencies for an organization and or a job, and incorporating those competencies throughout the various processes, job evaluation, training, recruitment of the organization. So if your organization is able to come out with a dossier of competencies required for each job role, and you are able to also identify the competencies of the individuals, and then you compare them and see whether there's a proper match, then you have done a lot of good to your organization. One, where there's a proper match, the performance is expected to be good. Number two, there's a gap, you have a very good task for the training and development department. Number three, you are not able to ascertain the competencies of an individual, you have a great opportunity to utilize the development sector and come out with the identification of the competencies of the person. So, from all the perspectives, competency mapping gives you a very, very broad picture of how your organization is, and therefore, competency mapping is very, very essential. The competency assessment is what you do for an individual. At the time of recruitment is assessment center which is doing this job, and for those who are already working in the organization, the development center does this work, and we'll go into those details later on. So competency-based management is the application of set of competencies for managing HR so that performance attributes sufficiently and effectively to organizational results. I think this is what we will tie to the second or third slide that we have shown. So if you are able to manage the competencies of an individual with the competence required for of the job, and you are able to take the process through, you are expected to have much better results compared to the competing organizations. So competency standards are what you identify as the requirement that your organization is expecting, the role versus the person. So you have certain predefined standards. That is what the competency standards are. So competency profile is a document like your job specifications documents, job description and job specifications. It's a document that describes a set of competencies specific to position, job, occupational group, functional community. I'm not sure whether Indian organizations have really gone this far. We are yet to start our journey, and many of the Indian companies are yet to start their journey in this area. But if you're able to do it, I think that will be more professionally and well managed in terms of performance. And that is what is required for most of the organizations. Competency level, different levels of mastery that help employers determine how deep they need to go when looking into individual skills and abilities, right? If a simple task like a driver. If you want to hire a driver, depending on what kind of driving and the navigation he has to do, you look for different levels of proficiency, right? If you have to drive in Bangalore roads, the proficiency levels are going to be very, very different from driving in Vadodara roads, right? So Vadodara's driver's competency levels may not be good enough for a Bangalore road driving because it's far, far different than what it is in either Indore or Vadodara or Coimbatore or those kinds of places, right? So competency gap is the gap measured on the basis of assessment between desired and assessed levels of competency, and therefore it is expected that there will be gaps in the organization. And since the gaps are there, it requires certain training. So this whole thing is tied. Competency gaps are there. Therefore, to establish the levels of gap, you need a development center. And since you have identified and quantified those gaps, you require a development plan. A development plan means you require to provide some inputs to the employees. Therefore, you require L&D. So these are all interrelated. Nothing is, a silo. All these things have to work in tandem, and there has to be a lot of coordination. So I think I'll pause here. If you have any questions, I will answer your questions.
How do you quantify the?
Okay, we will go through. I think you will have to wait up to the sixth or the seventh session. So when we really get into the core of development centers.
A little about it. Maybe we'll do
Yeah.
it little into.
Okay. Now, how you are in which sector? You said you're working in which sector?
I'm a freelancer now.
Right now, you're freelancer. You want to get into some consultancies. What? But your previous experience?
Telecom and automobile.
Okay. Now, in telecom, obviously, you have a lot of service calls to be answered, right? So that goes through a third party usually, and you want to suppose you've got some 20 telecallers and who have to receive the calls or answer their calls. How do you assess their performance? What factors go into the assessment of their performance? A call center, let's say.
Satisfied, less satisfied.
No. So first is how quickly you are picking up the call, how fast you pick up the call. Is that a criteria? I may
Yes.
pick up the call in the first three rings. Somebody else may take up the call in the first five rings. Somebody else maybe first eight rings. There could be a classification, right? You can give some numeric identifier how quick you are responding to a call. So your number five marks for three less than 3 seconds or three rings, 4 marks for less than five, like that, 3 to 5 like that. You can convert into a number,
Yes.
right? Then the duration of conversation. If you're smart, you will be able to close the call faster. Number three, annoyance of the customer. Whether the other guy is able to peacefully respond or is banging the phone, and that's why you record the calls and monitor the calls. Then you can give some rating for that, right? So if you rate all this and there's a performance expectation defined by the organization, and that number versus the number that you've computed for each one of these telecallers is what the quantification is.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible to quantify these things. Only thing is the organizations have to put in effort there. Yeah, Pradeep ji, आप बताइए. Pradeep ji. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Pradeep, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yes, Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, could you go back to slide number 15, please?
15, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
So the 6 elements, the title is pretty clear. Let's say senior manager L&D. What does a cluster mean?
Okay. You will come to know of some of these things as we go forward. I mean, you will see maybe towards the end of this session or the early next session. Most of these things will become clear as you go forward, because I'm just introducing them because these are all important for you to understand the context of it. But you will learn everything. If you don't learn that at some point in time, you can definitely remind me. I'll get back. No problem.
All right, doctor. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So all these things are covered in the entire thing, but some may come a little faster, but then they'll get related at a later date. Okay. Yeah. Hitesh ji.
I believe Chandra madam also has raised hand. I'll ask later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Basically, I work in life insurance. So I was I had the personal experience of attending assessments for 2 rounds of elevations by development centers. We don't have a development center per se in our organization. So we had to hire a vendor. And that experience part of it was something very different because they have very unique way of trying to assess. There are so many rounds and finally backed up with another interview part of it as per our format. So when this happened, this was probably last 5 to 6 years this has been happening. And the experience was very, very different. And the candidates who were selected, when we spoke about competence and competency, we found that people who have been very good in their job, I'm talking about a very, very senior level. So I am in the topmost level, having put in so many years of service. And I have also been elevated to this position through a round of interview through the assessment center only. And we found that there were some good people, according to our assessment in the organization. They could not be elevated. And results, if you see in the earlier cadre, wherever they were, it has been very good. And the role also was challenging. So we used to have a lot of confusion as to how the assessment has been done. And not that like when you look at the plane part of it, all of us are on the same plane when we attend the assessment. It's a homogeneous group which goes for the assessment. So we used to be wondering, but then now this aspect of competency and competence, probably a very professional development center is in a position to come out with. That's what I have understood, sir.
Okay.
Just wanted to make a point, sir. That's it.
Okay. So anyone wants to respond to her? Most of the answers will live the group itself. I don't have to give much. So let's see if somebody wants to respond. Yes. So would you like to repeat your question so that we can get the response?
It was not a question per se, but then I am able to link that.
Okay, you're able to link, but your linking is, are you satisfied?
Fine, sir, because see, as an insider in the organization, for me, it appeared as though some injustice has been done to somebody else. But being assessed by a very professional development center, probably there were certain things which they were looking for when they tried to assess and come out with their findings. So it was just a point because since I went through this experience, I thought I'll share it in this particular forum.
Basically, madam, I think in Indian context, you must understand and appreciate. We are not as honest and as professional as one should be. Right? Now, if you're thoroughly professional in managing your in our organizations, I think most of these theories will work. Most of these models will work. But unfortunately, our way of working is far different, and therefore they appear on the face of it. Some of them may not be very relevant. Sometimes we are also convinced that the reasons for why the bosses do certain things are beyond our comprehension. Right. So that does not mean the processes that we are discussing here are not good. In fact, it is all the more important when India wants to compete in global markets and you want to globalize your organizations, you should become more and more productive. What we say and what we do, there's a gap at the decision making level or at the leadership level, right? That all of us have to take that into account. See, I mean, I just tell you at a macro level. At a macro level, if you see, most of the state governments are doling out a lot of freebies to the armed janata. In certain states today, buses are free for women. In certain states, you are woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they'll come and give you some 3,000 rupees as pension, monthly income. In certain states, you get 5 rupees a meal. So if I get 3,000 rupees every month and get a meal for 5 rupees every day, my cost of living is going to be some 500 rupees. So I still end up saving money so that I can drink some spurious liquor they're selling in the market, right? So when you want to be a global player at a national leadership level, but at the state level, at the unit level, you are trying to cultivate these things, you cannot have that kind of a global leadership. So, therefore, although we keep saying that we want to overtake China and all that, we can't just do that because the kind of practices that we have got in the political leadership level, they don't let you move past China at any point in time, right? We may do various gimmicks, but the cultural practices that we have in the country are so bad that it is not encouraging productivity, it is not encouraging education, it is not encouraging excellence, it is not encouraging quality, right? So the same thing happens in organization. What is stated at certain level and what is practiced at the operation level, there is a gap. Now that gap, unfortunately, you and me, none of us sitting in this group are able to handle that. And we have to live with that. Okay. But when we get an opportunity to be in that leadership position, as long as we don't perpetuate those policies and we change that, that is good enough. That is our delta X contribution to the system. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sir, Hitesh ji.
Yeah, can you please explain competency mapping as
So competency mapping is very simple. If anybody is from HDFC Bank, I think you will be able to understand. HDFC Bank follows it to some extent. The competency mapping is you first draw what are the competences required for a job role. Suppose you are a CRM in a bank, or you are a marketing manager in an organization. You are a marketing executive in the same organization. What are the competences required to be effective in that particular job role? You draw those competences list, right? And
okay?
you have a prospective candidate to be promoted from a sales executive to sales manager. And then the sales executive in his individual capacity has got certain competencies. You compare the competencies of the individual to that of that role. And if they are matching, and
Okay,
you are satisfied that matching will make him perform well in his new role, then you take a decision to promote him. If you think that this guy requires a promotion, but his new role requirements, competence requirements are different from the current requirements, but he is a fair case for promotion, then you have two ways. First, you ask him to go through a training program where his weaknesses, whatever the gaps are there, that are filled before he is promoted, right? If you don't take care of that, or even if you want to promote for various organizational reasons, after promoting also you make sure that the gaps are filled. This is, you map the two, identify, establish the gap and minimize the gap to the extent that his performance in the new role is not compromise at the individual level or at the organizational level. That is what is mapping,
Correct. Thanks.
right? So the basic problem that we face, particularly, at the time of recruitment, a lot of effort goes into matching the job requirements versus the individual competencies. But at the promotion level, many organizations look at this sideways. You are promoted because you are a favorite of your boss. You are promoted because you have done extremely well in your current role, irrespective of your new role requirements. You have certain stereotypes, or you have got certain biases. He's from my same college, he's from my same town, same district, same state. So various considerations go into promotion. So we don't really take care of the competence requirements and the mapping of competencies to that competence, right? And consequence to that is, the guy will fail in his new role. It has to, as long as he fails and he leaves the organization, is fine. But most of the roles will not have the impact on the individual alone. It will impact the entire department performance. It impacts the entire organizational performance. Therefore, the mapping is important. Okay. Yeah. Any other question?
Thanks.
So a question, is there a difference on the competency level and the proficiency standard? I just want to understand the difference in that.
Okay, I think your question will be answered in the next session when we talk about certain examples of specific roles. I think you will be able to understand that normally we look at three levels, and those three levels, what they are and how they are, you will come to know of it very soon.
Okay, sir.
A simple example: if all of us are driving cars, and how many of us are able to drive do the reverse parking quickly, and how many of that are able to do it very, very carefully? There is a proficiency. Reverse parking is a great skill that is required. It's not easy. Not everybody is proficient in that. Or where some people have to drive very carefully, even in a road which is free. They can't go past 50, 60, whereas somebody else can go even at 80, 100, even in a crowded area. So that is the level of proficiency. How do you define these things in organizational context? We'll come to know of those things, certain job roles, in the next session. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? I think already it's 3:30. We have spent 1.5 hours. I didn't realize that. So I think I should not hold you further, because you may have another session at 4 o'clock. Do you have a session at 4?
No,
Okay.
not today, sir.
No, sir, we are done for today.
Okay, not today. So I think I'll leave you at this. I think this first session is always we have to establish certain equilibrium. We have to understand the requirements and all that. It's good, excellent. I think this kind of interaction and the contribution in the class is always useful. So it should not be a monologue. It is not just that something I'll come and just vomit here and go. Let's discuss. And all of you have a lot of experience, and I must respect your experience and draw the contextual examples from your own organizations and your own experiences. So excellent talking to you all, and have a great week ahead till we meet on the next Sunday. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll close the call.
Thank you,
We'll close the
sir.
call. All right. All right. All right. Thank you.